Teenagers are often stereotyped as troublemakers who do nothing but cause chaos. They are often viewed as immature, untrustworthy, and treated with little respect. Philadelphia teenagers are frequently stereotyped in comparison to their suburban counterparts. Hazel Davis, a junior at Franklin Learning Center, experienced first-hand stereotyping at Liberty Place in Center City, Philadelphia.
So we entered the building and there was a guard standing in front, but we thought that was for basic security reasons. So my friend had walked up the stairs and the guard had stopped us and said, "Are you 18 or older?" And we were like, "No." And he was like, "Well, then you have to leave the premises. You cannot enter after 3 o'clock. So I guess we could have entered like from 2 and before, but he said from 3 o'clock after we could not be in there.
Sam Tejada, another junior at FLC, was not asked to leave like his friend Hazel.
Well, he let me just pass by, but then he went to talk to Hazel, my friend, and my sister, and they were talking, and then I asked them what was going on, and he just told me that they can't go in unless they're 18. So I guess, I don't know if he didn't notice I wasn't 18, but obviously I didn't go in because my friends weren't able to go in.
In April and May of 2015, a series of violent fights broke out on SEPTA involving teenagers, which local media outlets covered extensively. One of these fights between a group of Benjamin Franklin High School students occurred underground at the Broad and Spring Garden subway stop. Amir Bowman, a junior at Ben Franklin High School, witnessed the fight.
I overheard a girl arguing with a guy, and the girl said she's going to get some people to beat up the guy. Fast forward to 309, I'm on the sub, and all of a sudden a fight break out. And it got real hectic really quick. Then the police came, everyone scattered away, got on the train, and the fight was over.
A lot of adults stereotype teens negatively due to their looks, age, and the way media portrays them.
A stereotype would probably be that teenagers are just rowdy young people who don't really care about the consequences of what they do or what they're going to do in the future. I think they just all think of us as people who are just running around, not really caring about anything.
Usually people see teens as very like uncaring, just kind of go around doing what they really want, kind of like don't really think before they do, like very disrespectful people.
Aaron Horvat, Associate Professor of Urban Education at Temple University, has worked with urban youth and sees the stereotypes placed on Philadelphia teenagers by adults as misunderstandings of growing up.
The teen years are a time of a great deal of change and growth and development, and also when young people are approaching being adult-like. And I think that can be threatening. I think that teens are at a place where they sort of want to push against structures and push against adults and rules, and I think that's part of the growing up process. But when you're a poor teen of color, usually in the city, that sort of pushing up and challenging appears as threatening. When really it's just testing boundaries, testing limits, which is what everybody does to grow and change.
Megan Condit, a guidance counselor at Franklin Learning Center, has been working with Philadelphia teenagers for 15 years and believes they are wrongfully stereotyped.
I think that people make the assumption or stereotype teens as being impulsive, and sometimes what looks like impulse to adults has really been a thought process that a teen goes through, and they've calculated that this risk is worth it, and adults see it as impulsive, but it's really just a risk that they're willing to take.
Dr. Andrew Karpinski, a social psychology professor at Temple University, explains the root of stereotypes.
We categorize things. When we talk about this in terms of social groups, we tend to think this is a bad thing because our stereotypes get activated. We have to do that in order just to navigate the social world. And so the question is, how do I categorize you as a person and not as a group that you're a member of? And if I don't know you, I don't have a basis to categorize you as a person. So I'm going to categorize you on what's ever accessible, whatever is relevant for that. And if it's a teenager, a young person, if it's your gender, if it's your race, right, those are what I'm going to categorize you based on. And so I think the challenge is, how do you get people to see you as an individual, not as a member of a group?
Teenagers are put into these negative categories because they try to express their individuality.
When you are not able to express your individuality, you rebel. and sometimes you rebel in ways that can be harmful to you or to others. We want you to fit in this nice, neat little box so that adults are comfortable with who you are.
Teenagers do stuff themselves to make themselves seem different than other people. And so that, I think, contributes to the categorizing them as teenagers and as different and as so-called outsiders from the general society.
Inner city youth experience being stuck in a negative category in their everyday lives. For Hazel and Amir, this experience is frustrating.
It makes me feel that I go to a bad school and no one wants to come to my school because of how we're portrayed on the news.
It really doesn't make sense because students usually get out of school from 3 and over, so that was kind of discriminatory, saying that like basically students cannot enter the premises after school hours. Like excluding us from that is kind of like a hate crime.
They don't have that rule out at King of Prussia where there's kids who have money to spend, so you could see it as an economic issue. You know, there's many ways in which it's a racial issue, but also a social class and economic issue, right? They don't see teens as a market that is going to promote business at Liberty Place.
These negative stereotypes are further exaggerated by the media's coverage of teens' rebellious actions.
I've heard adults, and especially news media, frame young people in Philadelphia, teens in Philadelphia, as violent, out of control, disengaged, uncaring about their environment.
We tend to make some judgments based on how easy it is to recall instances of that event. And so to the extent that there are recent events that are accessible to me, I'm going to use those to judge events that are in front of me. Right? So that the recent events in Baltimore, right? That there are people of, they're all ages that are involved in protests. But here in Philadelphia, I also hear about people of all ages, but primarily of certain ethnicities, involved in protests.
There's been debates whether a teenager's behavior is influenced by their family or friends.
There's also that desire to fit in, and so when, the people around you are drinking or doing drugs and you're with them and those are your friends and you see that happening, you feel like you need to engage in those behaviors to be a part of the group.
Yes, I do think that parents and whoever is living in your household does reflect who you are, because I think everybody needs that support system to show them right and wrong, like the difference between it. And if you don't have that, you're gonna just go by your instincts. And
there's some interesting research that parents really aren't that important by the time you get to be teenagers. It's surprising, but what's more important is your peers, your friends. And so what your friends do, and your friends have a huge influence on who you are. So if you're with a group of people who are doing things that you say, I don't want to be doing those sorts of things, if you're with them, you will do those sorts of things. Right? Peer pressure is important. It's a real thing that contributes to behavior. And so I think that choosing your friends, choosing your peer groups is something that teenagers can, that's something you can do.
Although teenagers have these negative stereotypes placed on them, in no way is it acceptable for them to act out in such manner. If teenagers work together with the adults and try to cooperate, they will learn to accept their differences.
Adults and teens and children and older adults could interact with one another on an equal playing field. That would help a lot. We would not see each other as stereotypes, but as individuals.
To an extent, you're at the mercy of your group. Right? But I think that what you can do is you can signify to other people that I'm different from those. If there are bad teenagers, there are also good teenagers. And that you can maybe signify that you're different.
If I had any advice to any teens who are on the streets right now, I would say think about the future and think about how you want your life to be. You don't want to become a stereotype. You don't want to be like these people on TV, pregnant, or broke on the streets, or up holding a cardboard sign. You actually want to do something with your life.
If you want, stop getting stereotyped. Stop doing the stuff that they stereotype you for. Stop the fighting and stuff. That's so unnecessary. All you gotta do, if you want to get past these teenage years, people, just do you and just calm down, just chill, and just and everything gonna be cool. Everything gonna be cool if we just chill out.